learners, welcome back to Basic Science class. In the previous class, we started our 10th lesson, that is animal lore, and we already discussed about some peculiarities of birds. One of the main points we studied in the part 1 class is that most of the birds lays eggs and the period of incubation is different for different birds. You enjoyed our last day's study tour and each of the beautiful bird sightings we saw at Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary, didn't you? Even today, I would like to share with you some very interesting facts about the animal world. First of all, you know that birds are not only the creatures those lay eggs. Are you ready to hear the story of salmon fish that make a lot of sacrifices to keep their hatchlings safe? Okay, let's see it. Salmon is a kind of fish which travels long distances to lay eggs. In summer, they start their journey from the Pacific Ocean. This journey ends 2,500 kilometers away in the North American rivers. Waterfalls and violent water currents in rivers are never a hindrance to their journey. Overcoming all hindrances, they reach the origin of the rivers, lay eggs and die in the sandbanks. The hatched young ones then return to the ocean. What a caring parents, isn't it? Did you like the story? Okay, my dear children, your parents may be working hard for your good growth. We should thank them by studying well and growing up with good habits, right? I am sure you all are good children and you will do it, okay? Now, let's do an activity. Have a look at the classification of organisms that reproduce by laying eggs. Group 1 ant, grasshopper, moths, beetle, housefly. Group 2 sardine, mackerel, snakehead fish, catfish and rainbow fish. Group 3 crocodile, snake, lizard, mabuya, calotes. Do you find any common features in each group? Yes, isn't it? They reproduce by laying eggs. That means all are oviparous. Once again, what are oviparous organisms? Organisms that reproduce by laying eggs are called oviparous organisms. Insects are included in the first group. What about the other groups? Yes, you are right. Other groups are fishes and reptiles. Observe the pictures. These organisms, which can live both in land and in water, also lay eggs. That is, frog, Sicilian, salamander, etc. Organisms in Group 1 with which you are familiar are insects. Group 2 are pisces. Pisces means fishes. Organisms included in Group 3 are reptiles. Their skin is dry and scaly. Organisms like frog, salamander and Sicilian can live both on land and in water. They are called amphibians. We can conclude the organisms that are oviparous are birds, fishes, reptiles, amphibians and insects. You must find more and more examples for each group, okay? You have noticed that the young ones hatching out of a hen's egg resemble their parents. But do the young ones that hatch out of frog's eggs look like the parent frog? No, isn't it? The egg of a frog is very small. They are floating on the top of water. The young ones that hatch out of frog's eggs is called tadpole. It does not look like the parent frog, but resembles a fish. They eat some water plants and algae. During this time, the tadpole begins to have 2 hind legs and has a long body along with its head. With the help of its 2 hind legs, it can easily jump around instead of just swimming. At this stage, the tadpole begins to develop the legs so that it can also breathe out of water when it becomes a frog. With all these changes, the tadpole looks a bit more like a small frog. It takes about 21 days for tadpoles to form froglet, and it is the third stage of a frog's life cycle. In this stage, the lungs and two front legs also grow. Its long tail becomes shorter and shorter. Due to the lungs, the froglet also floats above the water to breathe air. At this stage of the life cycle, a froglet does not require anything else to eat because it uses the nutrients stored in its tail as food. Now it looks like a young frog. The adult frog is the fourth and final stage of life cycle of a frog. Now it is perfectly fit to live in the water and live on the land. The frog's tail disappears completely and also starts eating insects. The mother frog returns to the water to lay eggs, and the life cycle of a frog begins again like egg, tadpole, froglet, frog. This is the metamorphosis of a frog. So, what do you mean by metamorphosis? The young ones hatching out of the eggs of certain organisms do not resemble their parents. They are called larvae. Metamorphosis is the process by which young ones in the larvae stage develop into organisms similar to their parents through different stages of growth. The life cycle of a butterfly is also an amazing journey of life. It also shows metamorphosis. A butterfly begins its life as a fertilized egg. A female butterfly lays a lot of eggs, usually on leaves or stems of plants. Butterfly eggs are very tiny and may be in different shapes like spherical, oval, or cylindrical. These eggs are surrounded by a thin layer of wax which prevents it from getting dry. This stage usually lasts 3 to 7 days, but this may vary. The larvae or caterpillar that hatches from the egg is the second stage of the life cycle of the butterfly. The caterpillar's main activity is eating. They almost never stop eating so they can grow quickly. The first meal for most caterpillars is the eggshell, and then they eat the leaf they were born onto. The mother butterfly needs to lay her eggs on the specific type of leaf the caterpillars can eat. Before going to the third stage of life, butterflies increases their body mass over 100 times larger than its birth size. After that, they shed their skin 4 to 5 times. The pupa is the third stage. It hangs down from the safe area around the plant where it took birth. Inside the pupa, its organs are beginning to form. In a couple of days, the butterfly is fully formed in the pupa. Now its skin starts to get thinner so the wings of butterflies can be seen. In its fourth stage, when butterfly emerges from a pupa, its wings are wet and wrinkled. It hangs with its wings down for a few hours so that their wings become big and strong. After that, the butterfly becomes ready to take its first flight. Now, let's see the metamorphosis of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes lay eggs in stagnant water and other containers that can hold water such as discarded tires, cans, buckets, and the base of some plants. Most of the eggs hatch into larvae, that is in the second stage, within 48 hours. The eggs hatch in water and a mosquito larvae or wriggler emerges. The length of time to hatch depends on water temperature, food, and type of mosquito. The larvae lives in water, feeds and develops into the third stage of the life cycle called a pupa. The pupa also lives in the water but no longer feeds. Finally, the mosquito emerges from the pupal case after 2 days to a week in the pupal stage. The life cycle typically takes up to weeks, but depending on conditions, it can range from 4 days to as long as a month. The adult mosquito emerges onto the water surface and flies away ready to begin its life cycle. The insects like honeybee, dragonfly and housefly also shows metamorphosis. Do you know the doodlebugs? These are the larvae of a variety of dragonfly. Okay children, it's all for today. Hope you all enjoyed and understood today's class well. See you in the next class. Thank you.